A lot of people come to me for shoulder issues. I work with a lot of CrossFitters. I work with a lot of pickleball players, tennis players, those sorts of athletes where they generally have one thing in common when we're working on their shoulder pain. And the thing that I want to start with, we're looking at poor mobility of the scapula specifically, but also really poor strength and stability of the scapula, of the musculature that all attaches to the head of the humerus and the scapula. And that is the main goal when I'm working with athletes and we're dealing with shoulder pain, is to build up the strength and stability of those joints and of those structures. And the best way to do that is to just ensure that you have a really strong back in all angles and in all modalities of the back. So we're talking your lats, your rhomboids, your traps, 1, 2, and 3 fibers. We have your rotator cuff actually gets worked quite a bit when you make sure that your back is strong. So if you find that you have repetitive shoulder injuries, we are looking for an overall strong, stable back. Okay, you're probably wondering why. Whenever people talk about shoulder injuries and what makes a strong shoulder joint, they always talk about the rotator cuff. Well, and they really don't talk about the back much, but the scapula and the humerus are intimately related. If one doesn't move well or one moves differently than the other one, things go haywire. So what we want to do is repair that relationship by creating good movement in both joints and then also creating great stability in both joints. So if we see that the humeral head doesn't sit in that glenoid fossa, which is that cup that the humeral head sticks in, and it's forward, which is generally what we're seeing. It's forward, it tilts forward. You'll see it kind of look like this when it looks its unhealthiest and it's internally rotated. What we're seeing is that because of the poor stability of the joint, the muscles cannot fire in a healthy way that would promote positive, healthy movement. If you cannot promote that positive, healthy, smooth movement with the relationship between your scapula and your humerus, you will not be able to develop any sort of power. Your strength is going to stagnate and plateau, and you will not be able to do things in the range of motion that you want to. So with a strong mobile back, what we will do is bring that humeral head back into that socket, support it. We'll bring that scapula down into a nice neutral position, which will be downwardly rotated and then tilted. So it's flat against the rib cage. When it's in that position, which it can get in that position by strengthening your scapular retractors, making sure your lats are nice and strong, but also mobile, and then making sure that your rotator cuff is engaged, then you'll be able to move in every range of motion with your scapula and your humerus working together. Developing strength is all well and good, but you cannot develop strength in a range of motion that you can't reach. So the first thing that I like to do is assess where we can get to with the available range of motion that we have in a particular client. So what we're going to do is first, if someone's in front of me and they're talking about shoulder issues, we're going to look at where their shoulder can't move. And we're going to try and move it into those ranges of motion and try to get it to move better. We're going to go through scapular upward and downward rotation. We're going to talk about scapular retraction and protraction. And those are the main ones that we're going to really deal with right now. Maybe some shoulder depression and then humeral head position. And so we're going to give you one mobility exercise per focus. But there are so many available. So don't think that these are the only ones. You can always reach out and see if we might be able to help you out. Remember how we talked about how the humerus, this bone, and your scapula are related and they should move together? One is your upward rotation of your shoulder. As she lifts her arm up, notice how her scapula comes up. That's great. We love that. And then as you come down, your scapula should come down. You'll see on some people, though, if they're so far forward that they have no relationship, when she goes ahead and comes up, nothing may happen. I don't have an example of that because she's already good. But you'll see that the scapula will kind of stay stuck, or it's already stuck so far forward that it doesn't really move a whole lot because now the humerus and the scapula aren't even related. So you have zero stability for your humerus. So what we're gonna do, we talked about range of motion. We're gonna go ahead and show you how you might mobilize your shoulder into upward rotation and into downward rotation. So to move into upward rotation, meaning her scapula goes up as her arm goes up, the problem would be that it would be sticky at the bottom. So we're gonna have her apply some pressure here and then go up, but we're gonna do this laying down. You're gonna put that right where I kind of press on your back. Perfect. So she'll put the ball below her scapula or right around there, and then she's gonna go ahead and lift her arm up to encourage her muscles to relax and lengthen to allow that scapula to go up. And you can bring your arm back down, and you're just gonna go ahead and repeat that. And you can kind of repeat that and move that ball around in that area until you feel like either the discomfort has lessened or you feel like your scapula is moving more freely. For downward rotation, to improve that, it does also improve your upward rotation, but it's a little bit different. But we're gonna move this ball up to underneath her upper trap muscles and do the same thing. So move that arm up, then back down. So what we're doing is freeing up scapular motion with her arm motion so that that relationship still stays. We don't wanna just stretch something unrelated to the motion we're trying to create in this instance. So now we're gonna work on her scapular retraction, and we're gonna have to kind of migrate into chest on this one because we're gonna create some motion to allow her scapula to come back. So you'll see a lot of people who don't have good scapular retraction, their scapula will be like forward and slid forward at rest. And again, that leaves your humeral head and your shoulder girdle weak and in kind of space without a lot of stability. How would we create the range of motion to get her scapula in? We would have to mobilize the front of her chest, right? So we're gonna do the same thing with the ball. We're gonna keep it easy. So, Lindsay, come down here and you're gonna put the ball in like here, okay. Yep. So she's gonna lay down, arm straight out to the side, yep, there you go. And then you're gonna go ahead and lift that side up. Yeah, she's gonna move it back as far as she can. And again, we're applying pressure to the muscles that would hold that humeral, that shoulder girdle forward, pectoralis major, minor, teres minor, anterior delts. So that can move back into scapular retraction easier when we go to do some strength work. The next thing we're gonna work on is the glide of your shoulder, right? The ability for it to move forward and back in the joint capsule. Now, with people who have that see repetitive shoulder issues, they're sitting further forward, and so they're often unable to control a forward and back shifting. Why do we need to do that? Because the humeral head doesn't just move up and down. It moves deep as it moves up. It comes, kind of glides out. It rolls along that joint, so we need it to be able to move. If it cannot, like it cannot shift backwards because it's so far forward, then what we'll see is repetitive repetition of your biceps, anterior delts, and very poor recruitment of your back. So to kind of initiate that movement, we're gonna have Lindsay come here and stand in a plank here on this box. And then she's gonna go ahead and keeping her arms straight, she's gonna pull her chest down as far as she can and bring her shoulder blades together. There, arm straight, yep. And then you're gonna press away as far as you can, keeping your arms straight. So we're creating as much motion here as we can. Yep. And then as you get stronger, you can load this. This is also a strength exercise, but the main thing we're looking for is for her shoulder to not go up, to go back. And now press away and round that back as far as you can. Yeah, there you go. And now go ahead and come back down, bring that chest down. There, and you can even see it's moving more already now that she's just been doing it for a little bit. Now we've looked at her mobility kind of in all ranges to create some motion. So now we can move to her strength work. Shoulders, touch your forehead and then come back down. Touch your forehead, come back down. Yep, so you'll go ahead and you'll pull these kind of back first and then lift, lead with those elbows. Yeah, that should feel different than what you just did. Yeah. And you should feel your scapula kind of coming down and together, and that's what we're looking for on that. So when you're talking about strength, you also need to know what you're strengthening. First, let's talk about lats because they're the biggest muscle that we've got here. Your lats attach to the inside and kind of underneath on the front side of your humerus. So when the lat flexes, it pulls that humeral head in. Also, it pulls your arm back. It also attaches to the bottom of your scapula. It also has a lot to do with your scapular positioning. It also attaches into your pelvis. So we're going to talk about pelvis later, but it does have a lot to do with your shoulder. The stronger it is, the more we can produce these motions here and here. Now, you do have to create some balance though, because we do need scapular retraction, which is done by your rhomboids, your TRAPS 1 fibers, your TRAP 2 fibers, your TRAP 3 fibers. And those will pull that scapula in towards that midline, which is what we want, and stabilize the scapula, pulling your humeral head deeper into that glenoid fossa is actually what it's called. So that little saucer, right? We want to strengthen all of those muscles, but your mid and low traps often are neglected because the mechanism to make those stronger tends to be a range of motion that we don't access a lot. We want to strengthen your lats into shoulder extension here. We want to strengthen your rear delts into horizontal abduction. We also want to strengthen your rhomboids, and we want to strengthen your forward and backward range of motion here, that protraction and retraction as well. We're gonna do we'll give you 3 different exercises that kind of strengthen each different region, okay? With this one, what we're working on is primarily scapular retraction and rear delt integration. So what we're working on here is developing the strength to bring the scapula in. Now, with this straight arm pull back, what we're working on is the engagement of the triceps, which is partially involved with your shoulder extension. And we're engaging her lats, pulling that humeral head back and making this part of her back stronger so it's able to support that pulled back, kind of retracted position of her shoulders. Now we're gonna go into a Y raise. I love the Y raise because it is one of the few exercises that really targets the mid and low traps, so trap 2 and 3 fibers. And these muscles, what they'll do is really create a nice downward tilt and downward rotation of your scapula, pulling the head of that humerus in. And now we're into rows, and we're working on scapular retraction, but also shoulder extension. And the main thing about this is that we're able to load this position very, very heavy, so we can make that back nice and strong. Now, with all these movements, I want you to treat them like weight training. Do not treat them like, oh, I just do 10 to 15 with a band or with a really light weight. No, you need to load it so that you're in the rep range that you want to be in. It depends on what kind of athlete you are as to what rep range you need to be in, but if we're working on really increasing strength, maybe stick to a 6 to 10 rep range. Once you're able to do 10 with proper muscular activation, then you can raise that weight, but treat it like progressive overload. Do not treat this like, oh, I just kind of do this and I mess around at the end of my workout and I do weights that feel good. We still want proper activation. We still want the muscles to work the way that we want them to, but you need to overload these muscles the same as you would with anything else. Same as a back squat, same as a deadlift, same as a bench press. You need to load these exercises. You can't expect your body to apply strength it doesn't have. The last thing that we want to work on, and it's a variation of the mobility exercise that we did, but it's adding some loading to it, right? So we're gonna have her wrap the band around and then do that scap push-up, but with loading. And you want the band right underneath your armpits. So she sets it up right underneath her armpits, and then she's going to keep her arms straight and let that shoulder sink as low as she can. And then she's gonna press away as far as she can. The band adds loading, and then she can use a bigger band to progress it. She can also bring herself lower onto the floor to progress it. And this will help strengthen that glide movement in her scapula and promote better motion so she's able to develop more strength. Developing mobility is key to developing strength because you cannot strengthen a range of motion you cannot get into. All right, moral of the story, strong shoulders start with a strong back. You will repeatedly have shoulder injuries if you do not have a strong, stable, mobile back. So take these exercises with you, take them to the gym with you, do them 3 to 4 days a week, do them in a progressive overload way. Do not just piddle around with them. Make sure that you plan something, you balance something, and if you're able to do a certain weight, this many reps, you decide what works for you. Increase the weight next time. Do not be afraid of this. You will be blown away at how much better your shoulders feel when you apply this mobility and these strength exercises. But if you guys want more information and you would like to hear more from me and learn about different ways to improve your performance as well as manage the pain that maybe exists from you pushing yourself hard as an adult athlete, go ahead and like and subscribe and tell all your friends because we would love to help them too.